Reborn back in 1970, I opened my eyes to hear the matchmaker urging me to marry a widow to bring good luck. Lu Chunyan. In my last life, this woman pretended to be virtuous and swindled away my parents' work point booklet, made me raise her cousin's bastard child for a full 8 years, and in the end drove me out to die on a hospital bed. In this life, she came at me again with reddened eyes, saying she could endure any hardship. I kicked away the embroidered shoe stuck on my threshold. Go back to Joe Big Mole's bed and hatch eggs. Everyone in the room was dumbfounded, but only I knew that inside this cinnabar mole in my palm lay 10 mu of fertile spirit spring land. In this life, it's my turn to settle the score. November 12, 1970. I stared at the yellowed calendar on the peeling wall, my temples throbbing. No, that can't be right. I clearly died in a hospital room in 1998, so how did I end up back in this old house? A metallic sweetness surged up my throat, and a blinding golden light suddenly burst before my eyes. I lowered my head and saw a cinnabar mole emerge on my wrist, so hot it made my veins throb. A mouthful of black, clotted blood splattered onto the earthen floor. My whole body suddenly felt lighter, and the stiffness from being bedridden for an entire year vanished without a trace. Then my mind exploded with a thought: the spirit spring space. 10 mu of fertile soil gleamed with a rich black sheen, and at the center a spring bubbled up with steam rising from it. The spirit spring water can strengthen the body. Heaven has opened its eyes. I've been given a second life, and even a cheat ability. I clench my fists, my knuckles cracking. In my previous life, I was deceived for my whole life. The son I doted on for 8 years was someone else's child. My parents died young from anger. I was thrown out of my home, and in the end I died miserably on a hospital bed with no one caring. In this life, no one is going to step on me again. Old Joe, it's not that I mean to speak ill omen. Your Weidong has been bedridden for a year now, and the commune subsidy stopped long ago, right? If you ask me, you should find him a wife to bring some good luck. That girl Lu is pretty and capable at work. If she didn't come with an 8-year-old son, how would your family ever get a chance? That shrill voice made my temple twitch. Lu Chunyan, that haunting woman again. In my last life, she swindled away all my family's savings, even tricked my parents out of their work point booklet, got me drunk on half a gin of sweet potato liquor, and deceived me into consummating the marriage so she'd end up pregnant with her cousin's bastard child. And in the end, she sold the old house and drove me onto the streets to beg. I flipped over and sat up on the Kong. With a clang, an enamel mug crashed into the roof beam. The room fell silent in an instant. My father Zhou Dahai and mother Liao Xiuqin shot to their feet. Dong Dongzi, you're awake? The matchmaker Luo Jinfeng waved her red handkerchief and shouted, Old Zhou, just look. The new bride hasn't even touched the edge of the Kong yet, and Dongzi has already opened his eyes. Cut the bullshit. I spat out the bloody foam in my mouth. I woke up on my own. What the hell's it got to do with this jinx? Luo Jinfeng's face fell, and she pulled over the woman in the floral blouse standing outside the door. Chunyan, come say your piece. Lu Chunyan brushed at the tear stains on her sleeve, shrank her shoulders, and spoke in a voice sweet enough to drip honey. Brother Dongzi. Uncle, Auntie, I can endure any hardship. From now on, I'll decoct the medicine and mend the clothes. As she spoke, she twisted her waist and moved to press herself onto my Kong. The scent of vanishing cream mixed with sour sweat rushed straight at my head. I know that smell all too well. In my previous life, every time this bitch came back from sneaking around with her cousin, she'd always use clam oil to cover up that fishy stink. Quit your damn act. I grabbed the medicine bowl and splashed it at her. Get out. Cheap buy one get one free trash. I don't want it. Lu Chunyan's pupils suddenly contracted. Luo Jinfeng's face instantly turned deathly pale. I swung myself off the Kong and jabbed a finger right at the tip of her nose. Tell them you've got mole's bastard in your belly. Seed from that beast, Zhou Jiale, what are you doing in my house pretending to be some innocent virgin? You two have practically worn out that little grove, and only now that your belly can't hide it anymore, do you come rushing to my door, wanting me to raise your kid? Dream on. Lu Chunyan's lips turned white, but she still tried to hold on. Di Dongzi Ji, what are you talking about? I'm pure and innocent. Pure my ass. I kicked away the embroidered shoe stuck by the threshold. Go back to Zhou Big Mole's bed and hatch your egg there. My family can't afford to serve you 2 great Buddhas. Luo Jinfeng's bloated body blocked the doorframe. Dongzi, have you lost your mind? Sister Lu is an untouched young lady. Then you marry her yourself. I grabbed a broom and drove them toward the door. Your lame son is 30 and still a bachelor perfect. Let this Miss Lu marry into your house with her brat. The broom lashed hard across Luo Jinfeng's fat ass, and the two of them stumbled out the door. What a sin. Serves you right to be paralyzed for life. Say one more word and see what happens. I slammed the door shut. I can get off the Kong right now and smack your mouth to pieces." Outside, it instantly went dead silent. My mother flipped over the teacup on the Kong table in one sweep. That son of a bitch Zhou Jiale. He'd even screw over his own brother. My father slapped the table too. "I'm going to dig up his ancestral grave right now." No rush. I braced one hand on the edge of the Kong and stepped down with my waist and legs tempered by the spirit spring. I was as steady as an iron post. "If you two go make a scene at their door now, what if they turn around and accuse us instead?" Only then did my mother react, grabbing my leg to look. "Dongzi, you're all better?" "Better." I walked a circle around the room. "The mountain god came to me in a dream, said our family was about to be harmed by petty villains. That woman came pretending to be here for a match, but I bet they even had a midwife lined up already, planning to claim a premature birth and make our family the suckers. Let's pretend we're not on guard first and see what tricks they can pull." My mother clutched her chest, tears streaming down. "Thank the Bodhisattva. Good thing we didn't let that jinx through the door." "Dad, Mom, you've both worked hard this past year." Looking at the white hair by their temples, my throat tightened. In my previous life, if I hadn't mistakenly trusted that woman, my parents wouldn't have died of anger. Were family why say things like that? My father tapped his pipe. "Your body's only just recovered, don't overdo it. I'm planning to go hunting in the mountains and pay off our debts first." I stretched my body a bit, then I'll bring Zhuzi along too. The mines haven't been safe these past 2 years, so it's a good time to call him back. Zhuzi's a good guy, honest and reliable. My father let out a sigh. "If not for this leg of mine. Dad, once I make some money, I'll take you into the city to get your leg treated." When I kicked open the gate to Zhao Tieju's yard, the kid was squatting by the stove gnawing on a corn bun. The instant he saw me, crumbs from the bun fell into his collar, and the bandage wrapped around his right hand was seeping yellow fluid. Holy shit. Dongji, am I seeing things? Seeing things my ass. I smacked the back of his head. "Hurry up, come hunting in the mountains with me. Quit that damn mining job. Go into the mountains." "Dongji, did a fever fry your brain?" "Fry my ass." I held up a number. 3 meals a day included, plus this amount at months and more than you'd make at the mine. The kid shot to his feet, and the corn bun rolled straight into the pile of wood ash. "Really? Those turtle bastards at the mine were still docking our wages this morning. I didn't want to do that damn job anymore anyway. Then let's go." He hoisted up the hunting rifle his dad had hidden and wheeled out the old bicycle, the hemp rope loops hanging from the handlebars swaying and clinking against the bell. The bicycle rolled over frozen dirt ruts, the chain clattering, jolting us all the way to the foot of the mountain. The mountain wind whipped snow pellets against our faces, and the pines and cypresses all over the mountain were bare. Around this time last year, you could still spot road deer droppings. But now even rat holes had been emptied out by people. The year before last, there was a severe drought, last year floods, and this year a late spring cold snap. The production team's granary had long since run dry, and wild game was rarer than gold. No wonder all the hunters had switched to working in the mines. I tightened my belt. A body tempered by the spiritual spring wasn't afraid of the cold, but my stomach kept churning with acid. The last half scoop of cornmeal at home had all been cooked into gruel by my mother and poured into my belly. I had to get some meat back fast. We circled 3 mountain peaks without spotting so much as a single pheasant feather. Zhao Taiju kicked a chunk of frozen dirt away and cursed. I squatted down and rubbed snow over my hands to wash them. The cinnabar mole in my palm burning and itching, while the weeds in the spiritual spring space glowed with a dazzling green in my consciousness. "Dig a pit." I pulled out my chopper and cut through dead vines, as thick as a bull's rim. "What can you catch by digging this thing? Even the rats are starving down to paper thin." I ignored him and secretly yanked a handful of grass from the space, mixing it with snowy grit and sprinkling it into the pit. Zhao Taiju twitched his nose. "Brother Dong, where'd you pick up that lousy grass? Why does it smell like the white rabbit candy from the supply and marketing cooperative?" A chill ran down the back of my neck. The grass watered by the spiritual spring smelled so good it was way too conspicuous I almost gave myself away. "You frozen stupid, or what?" I grabbed a handful of snow and smeared it on his face. "Wild fennel. Beasts love this stuff best." He grinned and took the shovel to dig, and he was pretty quick with the work. When the snow pit was dug to shin depth, I pulled out the hemp rope and tied a slip knot, fastening the end to a crooked neck tree. I covered the trap with dead branches, deliberately leaving one blade of grass sticking out and swaying. Zhuzi squatted under the tree roots gnawing on a frozen corn bun. "How long do we have to wait? What are you in such a hurry for?" I leaned against the old tree and rubbed my hands. The spiritual spring grass gave off a sweet fragrance in the wind, drifting into the woods as if mixed with honey. Suddenly, a crack sounded across the snow. 20 paces away, The shrubs rustled and shook, and I clapped a hand over Zhao Tieju's mouth before he could cry out. Snow pellets fell from the branches. In a clump of dead grass 30 paces away, a grayish-brown ball of fur bobbed and nudged its way forward. A wild rabbit. The beast was so fat its hind legs were practically dragging on the ground. Its fur sleek and glossy, its red eyes darting around, its nose twitching like a bellows. It had obviously caught the scent of the spiritual spring grass. No less than 3 or 4 Jin. Zhao Taiju forced the words out in a breathy whisper, drool running down the corners of his chapped, frozen lips. The wild rabbit suddenly reared up on its front legs. My heart nearly stopped. The beast was facing right toward the trap, its long ears swiveling like radar. It circled around the trap, its split upper lip chewing snowy grit, its red eyes fixed on that swaying blade of grass. Zhao Taiju got so nervous that a wet stain spread across his crotch. The idiot couldn't hold in his piss. The rank smell was swept along by the wind, and the wild rabbit's fur suddenly bristled. My heart sank. Just as I watched that gray fur ball turn to flee, a wisp of white mist suddenly rose from the trap. The spiritual spring grass buried under the frozen soil melted the snow when it met warmth, and the fragrance burst open with a bang. As if its soul had been hooked, the wild rabbit kicked off with its hind legs and shot 2 meters away. It was just about to crash into the trap. This brute suddenly slammed on the brakes, its front paws scrabbling at the edge of the pit. Good lord. Zhao Taiju was shaking all over, his palm gripping the hemp rope so tightly it could have been squeezed dry. The grass stem suddenly bent under the wind, brushing right past the rabbit's nose. The fur all over the hair visibly puffed up, a haze clouded its red eyes, and it stumbled forward like it was drunk. Crash. The dead branches and withered leaves caved in by half a foot. The hemp noose whipped tight around the rabbit's neck, and its plump body kicked wildly in midair, shaking snow down in flurries. Caught it. Zhao Taiju lunged out like a starving tiger pouncing on prey, his padded pants still dripping with piss. My meat. The hare's hind legs suddenly kicked him hard in the chin. Zhao Taiju let out a miserable howl. That beast's hind legs were insanely strong, almost knocking Zhao Tieju's teeth loose. The brute took the chance to wriggle the noose loose, and it was about to dive into the snowdrift. In a flash, Zhou Weidong grabbed the hatchet and swung. The back of the blade struck the rabbit's head with a clang, and the fat hare tumbled into a tree root, its ears sticking up dizzily. Grab it, quick! Zhou Weidong dove forward. Zhao Taiju directly untied his waistband and flung his tattered, piss-smelling padded jacket over the rabbit's head. The hare's hind legs kicked fiercely at his crotch. The pain made this fool kneel in the snow with tears streaming. It's gonna break. Zhou Weidong grabbed the rabbit by the neck and lifted, trying to seize the beast. But the hare, desperate to survive, went mad with red eyes, its hind claws scratching wildly at Zhou Weidong's padded coat. Damn your ancestors. Zhao Taiju went all in and bit down on the rabbit's hind leg. The rank, bloody rabbit blood choked his throat. And this fool actually chewed twice and swallowed. Delicious. Damn delicious. Finally got a taste of meat and grease. The fat rabbit finally went limp. Zhou Weidong laughed so hard he couldn't straighten up. Why the hell were you so nervous, kid? You're a grown man and you still pissed your pants? Zhao Taiju sat kneeling off to the side, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth and grinning stupidly. How long's it been since we've seen any meat? I couldn't hold it. But brother Dongzi, did you see? That rabbit just now was actually knocked silly by the smell of my piss. Zhou Weidong grabbed a handful of snow and scrubbed the rabbit blood off his hands. The smell of piss? What? Are you a damn dog? Zhao Taiju chuckled and pulled out his chipped dagger. The frozen rabbit hide ripped open with a tear, and the steaming smell of blood mixed with gamey stink rushed straight to their heads. Both men swallowed hard at the same time. The brute's fat was a full finger thick, wrapped around the tender pink hind leg meat, trembling as it dangled. This hide alone could fetch at least half a gene of salt at the supply and marketing cooperative. Zhou Weidong rolled the whole rabbit skin into a tube, tied it tight with a grass stem, and stuffed it into the back basket. When the intestines and guts were pulled out, Zhao Tieju's eyes nearly popped out of his head. Stop staring. We'll stir-fry them with chili later. Zhou Weidong kicked the innards into a hollow in the snow. Hurry up and set the trap. The animal trap slammed into the frozen ground with a clang. Zhou Weidong secretly grabbed a handful of grass juice from the spiritual spring space and smeared each trap with it. Zhao Taiju stuck out his butt and dug the pit, the hole in the seat of his padded pants exposing half a frozen red butt cheek. Is 2 meters deep enough? This fool leaned on the shovel, panting hard. Even a wild boar would break its front teeth falling in. Zhou Weidong picked up a rock and threw it into the bottom of the pit, and the echo came back dull, like pounding a cotton quilt. He turned and said, "Dig another half-foot and line it with sharpened wooden stakes." Zhao Taizhu nodded and got right back to work. By the time the sun was slanting west, crows were calling from the mountainside. Zhou Weidong tied the last snare to a crooked-neck tree, and the rabbit meat in the basket on his back had long since frozen into a solid lump. Zhao Tiezhu's nose snuffled loudly, just like a hungry wolf catching the scent of meat. For the next little while, the two brothers stayed crouched nearby, but they still didn't catch any big game. Aside from a few rabbits, the only somewhat valuable catch was a red squirrel and a few pheasants. Just when both of them thought they wouldn't be able to hunt any big game, they caught a whiff of a strange, fishy, rank smell. Zhao Tiezhu's expression changed, and he glanced at Zhou Weidong. "Brother Dong, why is there this musky stink? I've got a bad feeling about this. Could it be that some big game is coming nearby?" Before he could finish speaking, a deafening rumbling sound came from not far away. It sounded like someone scraping the bottom of a pot with a shovel, shaking the snow off the pine needles in soft flurries. All the hair on the back of Zhou Weidong's neck stood on end. He knew that sound all too well. 2 years ago, when he chased a wild boar piglet and got pursued for 2 li by the sow, this was the exact noise that had filled his ears. At least 500 jin. He reached for the wood-cutting knife at his waist, the blade humming in its sheath. The sound of Zhao Taizhu swallowing was louder than thunder. That 2-meter deep pit of ours. The mountain wind plastered their faces with that fishy, rank smell. In the distance came the crack of a tree trunk snapping, and snow came pattering down from the branches. Zhou Weidong dragged Zhao Taizhu down into a snow hollow. 30 paces away, the bushes shook like a sieve, and a dark shadow smashed through a birch tree as thick as a wrist. The wild boar's bristles were hung with ice crystals, and its tusks still had pine bark stuck to them. The way the beast pawed at the ground with its forelegs made it look exactly like a small tank at full throttle. Zhao Taizhu was on the verge of wetting himself again. "Bro, how about we run? That's a wild boar." In times like these, what hunter charges straight at a wild boar after seeing one? Aside from organized dog hunts and mountain hunting teams, individual hunters had no choice but to run for their lives. Zhou Weidong narrowed his eyes at the bloodstain on the wild boar's hind leg. The cut made by the sharpened stakes in the trap was still oozing blood. This beast fell into the trap just now and still managed to climb out? If only he'd had Zhao Taizhu dig it a little deeper. Zhou Weidong grabbed Zhao Taizhu by the back of the collar. "Run my ass. Those tusks can punch right through your asshole, believe it or not." White vapor snorted from the wild boar's nostrils, and the wound on its hind leg dragged a streak of blood across the ground. Zhao Taizhu stared at that pair of 3-foot-long tusks, and his crotch was completely soaked. "Bro, are we really doing this?" The lard alone would render into 3 jars, and the offal would be enough to salt away in 2 vats. Zhou Weidong licked his chapped, frozen lips. The supply and marketing cooperative buys wild boars by gross weight. This beast has to be worth at least 200 jin in grain coupons. Zhao Tiezhu's eyes instantly turned red. Trembling, he loaded the hunting gun. "Fuck it, let's do this." Zhou Weidong narrowed his eyes at the bleeding wound on the wild boar's hind leg. The 400 jin beast was gouging deep pits into the frozen ground with its forelegs, and a birch tree as thick as a bowl's rim creaked under the pressure of its tusks. When he pulled out the hunting gun, he found his palms were slick with sweat. This old musket only had 3 bullets in total. He absolutely couldn't afford to miss. "Juicy." He kept his voice very low. "See that patch of white hair? There's a bald spot the size of a palm on the wild boar's neck, with pine resin stuck around the scabbed wound." Zhao Taizhu gulped, took one look, then drew his head back and asked, "Below the crown of the head? In a minute I'll shoot there, and you hack at its hind legs with the woodcutting knife. This beast's hide is thick. You've got to shoot right against its forehead." Zhou Weidong swallowed and said. The 2 men crouched low and slipped into the bushes. Icicles were hidden beneath the crusted snow, and every step was slippery. The boar suddenly lifted its head and sniffed, and the ice chips hanging from its tusks came rattling down. The mountain wind had shifted. "We're screwed." Zhou Weidong's face turned grim. A boar's nose is the keenest. Before he could finish speaking, the boar suddenly turned around. Its blood-red eyes stared straight at them across 20 paces of snowy ground, and half a hemp rope was still hanging from its tusk. It was the broken snare from an earlier trap. Zhao Taizhu let out a yell and jumped up, hurriedly telling Zhou Weidong to go first. "Run, brother." Zhou Weidong had only just gotten up from his sickbed. If anything really happened, how could he explain it to Uncle and Auntie? He whipped off his padded jacket and flung it toward the woods in the east, while he himself darted toward the rock wall in the west. "You bastard, come after me." The boar was momentarily thrown off by his feint, and Zhou Weidong took the chance to dive into a snowdrift. When he braced the shotgun on a tree fork, Zhou Weidong still couldn't aim very well. The boar's charge shook the whole tree, like a damn tractor. The 400-pound mountain of flesh crushed over the snow crust, and in the swirling snow mist its tusks flashed with a cold gleam. Bang! The lead shot grazed past the boar's ear and blasted a bowl-sized scar into a pine tree. The boar jerked its head violently in pain, and its tusk directly ripped off half of Zhao Tieju's pant leg. The fool was climbing up an old elm with one bare leg, and when the boar reared up, its foul breath sprayed against the soles of his feet. Damn your ancestors! Zhao Taiju yanked off his belt and snapped it downward. The leather strap looped around the boar's snout, and he dropped with his full weight. Brother, shoot its eyes. The boar threw back its head and squealed in agony from the constriction. Zhou Weidong's hands kept slipping as he stuffed the second bullet into the barrel. The gunpowder was damp. Damn it! It's not even as good as the firecrackers set off during the new year. Just as he saw the boar was about to gore straight through the kid's jacket, Zhou Weidong swung the gunstock at the boar's eye, and the iron-banded wood slammed into its tusk hard enough to split the web of his hand. Let go! Zhou Weidong saw Zhao Taiju was about to be flung out of the tree. But the fool wrapped the belt around his wrist 3 times and refused to let go no matter what, shouting, Brother Dongzi, hurry and stab its asshole. Use the chopper. The boar slammed into the trunk like it had gone mad. The old elm let out a tooth-aching crack as it splintered, and Zhou Weidong grabbed the chopper and lunged forward. Who would have thought the boar would suddenly surge ahead? His strike barely landed on its leg, and the shock numbed his hand. The beast's legs were coated in a hard shell of tree resin mixed with mud. Its bristles were like a layer of armor over its whole body. He couldn't chop through it at all. Zhao Taiju suddenly lost his grip and fell. The boar staggered from the force of the downward pull, and Zhou Weidong's chopper finally bit into the gap in its joint. The instant black blood spurted out. The stench was so overpowering it made it impossible to keep one's eyes open. Run! Seeing that the blow hadn't done the job, Zhou Weidong grabbed Zhao Taiju and dragged him into a crack in the rocks. The boar was still chasing them with the chopper dragging from its hind leg. The broken blade stuck in a gap in the bone and bobbing up and down as it ran. The two of them huddled in the crevice between the rocks, gasping for breath, while outside came the grating screech of tusks scraping against the rock wall. Zhao Taiju suddenly pulled out a tin box. Brother, firecrackers. Let's stuff them up its asshole. That kid hid some firecrackers on himself last New Year, and now they actually came in handy. Zhou Weidong's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly took out the fire starter, blew on it, and lit the firecracker. Seizing the chance, Zhao Taiju darted out and slapped the wild boar on the rear. Over here, you bastard. The moment the boar turned around, he shoved the firecracker, still spitting sparks, straight into its asshole. The fuse was too short. If it weren't for drinking the spirit spring water, Zhou Weidong really might not have been able to stuff it right into the asshole. Boom. Right after that, a muffled explosion went off from the wild boar's asshole. The wild boar reared up in pain and let out a howl. Zhou Weidong grabbed the hunting rifle and jammed it under its chin. The last bullet pierced up through its lower jaw and into the top of its skull, spraying the two of them head to toe with blood and brains. When the 400-pound mountain of meat crashed to the ground, the impact shook icicles loose from the cliff wall, sending them clattering down. Zhao Taiju collapsed onto the boar's belly, twitching as he gasped. And next time I'll make you a whole pig feast. Zhou Weidong wiped the blood from his face and dug half a firecracker casing out of the boar's ass. We'll do it again next time. The moment Zhao Taiju heard there'd be meat to eat, the kid started grinning like an idiot. Look at you, no ambition at all. This wild boar is just the beginning. I'll go trade it for money in a bit, and then I'll get a double-barreled hunting rifle. From farther away, I can still kill a wild boar. Zhou Weidong smiled. After resting for a while, the two brothers finally got ready to deal with the wild boar. Its hind legs were still twitching reflexively, and wisps of bluish smoke were still rising from its belly. When dusk stained the snow red, the two of them chopped pine branches to make a drag sled. Zhao Taiju tore his pant legs into strips to tie up the pig's hooves, then suddenly grinned. Bro, do you think this counts as double happiness? Zhou Weidong was bleeding the pig's neck, and looked up when he heard that. How so? We killed a fox and slaughtered a pig. It's a wedding gift from the mountain god. Zhao Taiju waggled his brows. Once we sell it for money, we'll find you a wife first, bro. Find a wife, my ass. Zhou Weidong kicked the boar's belly. Change out of those piss-soaked pants and get down the mountain first. If we run into more big game, the two of us are done for out here. The two brothers didn't dare delay either, afraid of running into wolves, and carried the wild boar limping down the mountain. It was just the time when the villagers were getting off work. Quite a few villagers out digging in the fields, hose on their shoulders, just happened to pass by the foot of the mountain. The moment they saw the two blood-covered figures coming down with a wild boar on the snow drag, their eyes nearly popped out. Good lord, these two boys actually killed a wild boar? You had to know, game in the mountains was scarce these days. Usually, if you went up the mountain and ran into a wild rabbit or a pheasant or something, that was already incredibly lucky. Hunt a wild boar? You might not come across one even once a year. The key was, this was a gift from the mountain god. Just the meat on this wild boar alone would be enough for a whole family to eat for a year. It was already a famine year to begin with. If you got to eat meat once a month, you'd have to burn incense and thank the kitchen god. And now Zhou Weidong and Zhao Taizhu had brought down a whole one between the two of them. Of course, every household was envious. Zhou Weidong understood that too, so he didn't try to hide it. He carried it around the village entrance once, basically announcing it to the whole village. Zhao Taizhu puffed out his chest so much he looked like he wanted to stick his tail up to the sky. Oh my. Dongzi, what kind of crazy luck did you two have? You even managed to pick up a wild boar. How many meals would that make? Can you even finish it all? How about we all help you split some of it? That made Zhao Taizhu put his hands on his hips and shout. What do you mean crazy luck? Brother Dongzi and I risked our lives to bring this thing down. Just look at all this blood on us. No wonder he was angry. The people in the village were really infuriating when they talked all they wanted was a share of the meat. But Zhou Weidong understood it clearly and shouted to everyone. The mountain god has shown us favor. If anyone wants to eat meat, bring your cloth coupons and grain coupons and come to my house in 2 hours to trade. 1 gene per household. It wasn't that he was generous, mainly because this was a time of famine, and there wasn't a trace of oil or meat in anyone's belly. People driven mad by hunger were fiercer than wild boars for a bite to eat. They'd even dig up someone's ancestral grave. Being stolen from or robbed would be the least of it, and it might even bring deadly trouble and cause problems for the whole family. Giving some away could at least keep people quiet. In the future, if they caught game again, they wouldn't have to share anymore. When everyone heard they could trade for meat, they all hurried home to get their grain coupons and cloth coupons, then came running to Zhou Weidong to divide the meat. But just as the crowd was bustling with the distribution, an uninvited guest arrived. Oh, Weidong's back from hunting? So much meat quick. Cut off dozens of Jin to show some respect to your auntie. Hearing Song Jinhua's voice, Zhou Weidong's face filled with disgust, and he frowned instinctively. That old shrew Song Jinhua? In Zhou Weidong's memory, Song Jinhua only ever took and never gave. She was always there when there was something to gain and never willing to suffer even the slightest loss. When the family was starving, his mother Liao Xiuqin had humbly begged her for a bowl of millet on credit, only to be turned away. Back then, Song Jinhua had refused to help when they were dying, and now she still had the nerve to shamelessly come asking for me? Her son, Zhou Dazhuang, was a vile snob who fawned on the powerful and trampled the weak, his face full of fat from eating well, yet he'd never thought of helping out his relatives. Song Jinhua left early and came back late, guarding against Zhou Weidong like he was a thief, terrified that the two might run into her and ask to borrow food. But now she was calling him nephew over and over, acting as warmly as if she were his real mother. A flash of contempt crossed Zhou Weidong's eyes. Shameless Song Jinhua pushed the villagers aside and squeezed her way to Zhou Weidong's side. If she didn't take at least 10 jin of meat, she probably wouldn't let the matter drop easily. Auntie, you really do know how to join the fun. This wild boar was hunted by Brother Dong. You didn't put in any money or effort, and you still want to eat for free and take advantage? As Zhou Weidong's good brother, Zhao Taizhu knew his family's situation best. So of course he stood on Zhou Weidong's side, his tone barbed. Get lost. You're nothing but my nephew's lackey. Since when do I need to explain myself to you? Weidong, cut me some meat first and let me take it away. Greed showed in Song Jinhua's eyes. Fighting the urge to swallow her saliva, she shouted. Zhou Weidong shot Song Jinhua a sidelong glance, thinking that his second aunt's skin had grown with age until it was nearly as thick as a city wall. She was clearly planning to carry her shameless ways through to the bitter end. He remembered perfectly well how his second aunt had lorded it over him when they were so poor they couldn't even keep the pot on the stove. Auntie, you didn't lift a finger, yet you want a share of the meat? How could there be such a good deal? This is the capital for my brother to marry a wife. Zhao Taizhu stood in front of Song Jinhua and brought out the excuse he had prepared. Song Jinhua glared at Zhao Taizhu in anger, and as she spoke, spittle flew everywhere. Got nothing better to do? What does this have to do with you? I'm asking my nephew for some meat to eat that's only natural and proper. The younger generation should show filial respect to their elders. Have all the grand principles your parents taught you gone into a dog's belly? Her shrewish, street-brawling manner gave Zhao Taizhu a start. A real man doesn't fight with a woman, especially not a troublesome old woman who only knows how to make a scene. Second aunt, Taiju and I worked hard to hunt this meat in the mountains. It took a hell of a lot of effort. If you just open your mouth and ask for a share, what will my family eat? Zhou Weidong shot back. This excuse could shut Song Jinhua up. Song Jinhua always called the shots at home. Being publicly rebuffed, her face suddenly darkened. Zhou Weidong had lucked out and caught so much meat. And now he actually wanted to keep it all for himself? No way. Your cousin is still growing, and your second uncle hasn't had a bite of meat in a whole year. If you had even a shred of conscience, you should share some meat. You and your second uncle are family, bound together no matter what. Family means helping each other out. Otherwise, how can you call yourselves family? Song Jinhua said these high-sounding words righteously, while her hand had already reached into Zhou Weidong's basket. Song Jinhua's bad reputation was well known, and the onlookers knew it clearly in their hearts. At this moment, they all started whispering among themselves. To end up with relatives like this, what rotten luck for 8 lifetimes. Last year, in the freezing cold, Weidong's mother knelt at Song Jinhua's door begging for a bowl of rice, and Song Jinhua wasn't even willing to open the door. Zhou Weidong and his mother have had a hard life. It hasn't been easy making it to now. When the 3 members of old Zhou's family had nothing to eat, not a single person showed up. Now she remembers she has a nephew? Too late. The crowd's mocking and sarcastic voices reached Song Jinhua's ears. She was so angry her face turned red, but she had no way to refute them, so she could only cling tightly to the basket and refuse to let go. If anyone was to blame, it was your second uncle for being useless. There was only that much grain at home, we really couldn't spare even a single grain of rice. Otherwise, would I not have lent some to your mother? Song Jinhua spouted nonsense so glibly and logically that she nearly fooled even herself. Zhou Weidong couldn't be bothered to argue with her. As for meat, there was none for her. It was already merciful enough that he didn't beat her up. He shoved Song Jinhua aside, and sprawled in the snow, Song Jinhua clutched her aching lower back. Oh, my dear mother. You actually dare lay hands on me. I'm your second aunt, you bastard. I respect you as my second aunt, but that doesn't mean you can throw your weight around because of your age. Your family line isn't dead. Have Zhou Dazhuang go into the mountains to hunt. And by tomorrow you'll be eating meat. Zhou Weidong said firmly. Weidong, Dazhuang is your own cousin. Why speak as if you're from 2 different families? If this drags on, all you'll get in the end is a reputation for being cold-blooded. Song Jinhua shamelessly continued. Don't you see Dazhuang is starving and sallow? Don't you feel even the slightest bit sorry for your younger brother? Hearing this, the crowd was filled with righteous indignation. How shameless Zhou Dazhuang is, fat as a pig, and she actually has the nerve to lie through her teeth. Why should the Zhou boy hand over the meat? He worked so hard to hunt for you. His own mother hasn't even had a single hot bite. Everyone could see it clearly. Usually, Song Jinhua avoided Zhou Weidong's family like the plague. Today she was shamelessly begging for meat. It was obvious she wouldn't get up early unless there was something to gain. Song Jinhua only wanted meat and no longer cared about saving face. It's not your place to talk. Zhou Weidong, just give me a straight answer. Are you sharing the meat or not? If not, what can you do to me? If you've got the guts, come hit me. Seeing her throw a tantrum, Zhou Weidong didn't indulge her either. If she wanted to strip meat off him, no way. Seeing this scene, the villagers around them all burst out laughing. She failed to beg for meat and only ended up making things worse for herself. That Zhou boy has guts, well said. I've long been fed up with Song Jinhua. A scoundrel like her needs to be dealt with. The laughter grew clearer and clearer. Zhou Dazhuang's face flushed red. Haha, Zhou Weidong, you've really grown capable, haven't you? I'll have grandma uphold justice for me. You'll suffer for this, just you wait. A sharp-tongued, mean face flashed through Zhou Weidong's mind, and he let out a scornful laugh. You can call in all your ancestors, and I still won't spare you a single bite of meat. I'd rather throw the meat to De Huang at the village entrance than give any to you. Fine. I'd like to see just how tough your mouth is. Seeing that they wouldn't get any meat, Song Jinhua dragged Zhou Dazhuang away, cursing all the while. Watching the 2 plump figures gradually disappear into the distance, Zhao Tieju's eyes filled with worry. Zhou Weidong's grandmother was no pushover. Either she was notorious throughout the surrounding villages for being vicious and ruthless. Although Zhou Dazhuang and Zhou Weidong were both her grandsons, their grandmother favored the second uncle's branch of the family. Any benefits always went to Zhou Dazhuang, while all the dirty and exhausting work was dumped on Zhou Weidong. In a way, he had inherited his father's status of being unloved. The Zhou family's grain and farmland were all handed over by grandma to second uncle's family, without leaving Zhou Weidong even a dog's hair. From childhood to adulthood, regardless of right or wrong. As long as Zhou Dazhuang was upset, the one who suffered was always Zhou Weidong. It's okay, Zhuzi, you should head home first. I can handle a few blood-sucking relatives. Otherwise, how would we go hunting in the mountains? Zhou Weidong reassured him, then gave a few instructions about going up the mountain tomorrow before dragging the meat home. Dongzi, I heard all about what happened just now. This time your grandma is probably going to come and make a huge scene. A trace of guilt showed on Liao Xiuqin's gaunt face. Being born from my womb, you haven't enjoyed a single day of good fortune. Mom, don't say that. If they come here to make trouble, we'll split the family. Zhou Weidong was filled with heartache and couldn't help but stop Liao Xiuqin. He had 2 hands and 2 feet. How could he possibly starve to death? In his previous life, Zhou Weidong had fawned on people who didn't appreciate him. He was just too foolish. Whenever he had something good, he would dutifully offer it to grandma, and she would turn around and give it to second uncle's family, while belittling him as worthless. Now Zhou Weidong had woken up. Rather than trying to please others, it was better to make himself strong and independent first. Living his own life, what was more important than anything. Before long, grandma arrived with the whole family in tow. Right now, his father was at the commune repairing the reservoir, and his younger sister was at school, so only mother and son were left at home. With the whole family behind her, grandma was even more arrogant than ever. How did you, this good-for-nothing woman, raise Weidong? A perfectly good child has been spoiled by you. He got so much meat hunting, so why didn't he give any to Dazhuang? You must have been egging him on behind the scenes. Leaning on her cane, Wang Xiuying unleashed a fierce scolding, her triangular eyes burning with anger. Mom, Weidong isn't a baby anymore. He's old enough to be looking for a wife. And this meat needs to be exchanged for money so he can get married. How can it just be casually given to Dazhuang? It's one thing that second brother's family usually takes advantage, but Weidong did nothing wrong in this matter. Liao Xiuqin's body shrank back slightly as she avoided Wang Xiuying's gaze. Wang Xiuying's forehead was covered in deep, crisscrossing wrinkles, her eyes cloudy, and her cane struck the ground again and again, venting the intense dissatisfaction in her heart. Instead of thinking about helping Dazhuang, you only think about yourself. How did the Zhou family produce such an unfilial descendant like you? I might as well die. After all her crying, making a scene, and threatening suicide, a crowd of clueless neighbors gathered at the doorway. The brigade leader, Zhao Zhenxing, was also called over. At this moment, an old woman around Wang Xiuying's age made as if to join in scolding Zhou Weidong for being unfilial, but Zhou Weidong beat her to it by raising a broom to drive people away. The broom didn't hit Wang Xiuying, but the dust it stirred up made Wang Xiuying cough repeatedly. Don't think you can play your rogue tricks on me, I don't buy that act. Zhou Weidong pointed at Wang Xiuying's nose, his tone firm. If you want to die, then go die, but don't die at my doorstep. Wang Xiuying, who had been wailing and crying a moment ago, immediately scrambled to her feet. She roughly smoothed her disheveled white hair and cursed, "Beast, you're worse than pigs and dogs. You don't even care whether your own grandmother lives or dies." Wang Xiuying, who had been rolling around on the ground making a scene, suddenly sat up and casually tugged at her messy white hair. Ungrateful wretch. You don't even care about your own grandmother. Can you still call yourself human? Hearing this, Zhou Weidong didn't back down at all. What a joke. Our whole family works so hard, and we're supposed to let you eat and take things for free? My dad has worked himself sick, and you still come to mooch off us. Just because I'm your grandson too. Does that mean I'm supposed to keep suffering losses? As soon as he finished speaking, he heard Wang Xiuying snap irritably. You're the eldest. What's wrong with giving in to your younger brothers a little more? Suffering losses is a blessing. Cut the crap and give half the meat to Dazhuang from your second uncle's family. Zhou Weidong was so furious he laughed instead. I need to save money to get a wife too. If I give you the meat, am I supposed to stay a bachelor my whole life? What kind of logic is that? But Wang Xiuying didn't think much of it and rolled her eyes as she said, Who would be willing to marry someone like you? Stop being so picky. Widow Lu is pretty good, so just marry her. It'd be even better if you didn't get a wife. An extra mouth in the family is hard to feed. When Dazhuang gets married and has a son later, wouldn't it be even better to have one adopted over to you? What? Not getting married? And having Zhou Dazhuang adopt a son over to him? He had thought these people were shameless enough already, but he hadn't expected them to be shameless to this extent. The next moment, the resentment Zhou Weidong had suppressed for many years could no longer be held back, and he immediately said, Since you've never treated me as your grandson, then let's make a clean break. The brigade leader is here. I want to split the family. It was like a stone thrown into still waters, causing 1,000 ripples. No one had expected Zhou Weidong to actually dare bring up splitting the family. Fine, split it then. Song Jinhua lifted her chin. and said, "In that case, our second branch should get 80%. Second aunt, that's not very fair of you to say. Over the years, most of the work points were earned by my dad. Why should you get 80%? And take a look at who has been going out to sow the family's private plot these past few years, who has been sweating and bleeding for it. You had all the time in the world to loaf around and slack off, and now you want to sit back and enjoy the fruits?" Song Jinhua put her hands on her hips, her face livid. "Cut the crap. If we're splitting the family, our branch should be the one getting the bigger share." Wang Xiuying leaned on her cane and kept tapping the ground. "Wei Dong, don't try to throw your weight around here. You're the eldest branch, so you have to take responsibility. If this really gets taken to the commune, I'll say you're unfilial, and the people at the commune won't indulge you either." Just as both sides were arguing endlessly, Brigade Leader Zhao Jinxing opened the work point ledger, pushed up the old presbyopic glasses on his nose, and coughed. "Everybody stop arguing. I've checked the accounts. Of the 3 people in old Zhou's family, although Zhou Dahai has trouble with his legs, he never once fell behind in repairing the reservoir or carrying loads to irrigate the fields. As for the second branch, they really did contribute too little. Calculated according to the work points and attendance of these past few years, the eldest branch should get at least 70%. That's what's fair." "What?" Song Jinhua's face flushed bright red. "Just 30% for us? How are we supposed to live like that?" Even Wang Xiuying's old face fell, and she looked ready to burst into tears. "No, I refuse to accept it. Splitting the family has to be based on labor contribution. Whether you accept it or not, you have to accept it," Zhao Jinxing said. Zhou Weidong didn't say much either and agreed on the spot to Zhao Jinxing's ruling. For the next half hour, Zhou Weidong pulled everyone along to start splitting the family property, from big things like wardrobes and tables, to small things like bowls, chopsticks, ladles, and basins. Zhou Weidong even dug out the gold and silver jewelry his grandmother had hidden under the bed. In the end, after being busy for most of the day, Zhou Weidong gave up dozens of jin of pork. But what he got in return were several hundred jin worth of grain coupons, cloth coupons, and 700 to 800 in savings. When his second aunt and grandmother learned of the result, they both fainted from anger. After finishing the division of the family, Zhou Weidong picked up a plump pig hind leg and handed it to Zhao Jinxing with both hands. "Uncle Zhao, this time, the family split was all thanks to your fair handling. I don't really have anything else to thank you with. Take this hind leg back and let Annie use it to build up her health." Zhao Jinxing was startled at first, then smiled and patted Zhou Weidong on the shoulder. "All right, if anything comes up in the future, just say the word. If Uncle can help, I'll do my best to get it sorted out for you." "All right, thanks, Uncle." With the farce over, everyone went back to their own homes, and the courtyard finally quieted down. Liao Xiuqin closed the courtyard gate and let out a long sigh as she held her chest. "It's finally finished. Sigh, I never expected it to turn out like this. Mom, splitting the family is a good thing. Once we split, our family won't keep getting bled dry." Zhou Weidong comforted her a few times, then said, "Hurry and stew the meat. Dad should be back soon." "All right, you're the great hero of our family. We're having extra dishes tonight." Liao Xiuqin happily got busy, and Zhou Weidong used a sharp blade to cut the pork into small pieces, blanched it briefly in water, stuffed some firewood under the stove, and then started stewing the pork over high heat. Halfway through, he lifted the lid to skim off the scum, looking at the boiling mutton soup. Zhou Weidong was drooling with greed as he added the white radishes grown by his family. The sweetness of the radishes balanced out the gamey smell of the wild boar meat, and the aroma was strong enough for all the neighbors to smell. By the time the pork was fully stewed, it had gotten dark, and his father had also returned home from working on the reservoir. As soon as Zhou Dahai came in, he asked the mother and son, "Weidong, I heard you killed a wild boar, and your grandma insisted on coming to divide the meat, and it blew up into a huge argument?" "More than just a huge argument, Dongzi directly split from them." "Good, a good split." Zhou Dahai slapped his palm, and a long-lost smile actually appeared on his face. "I've put up with enough in this lifetime. I never expected you to have the courage to split the family. Since they can't tolerate us, there's no need for us to shamelessly suck up to them. Weidong, you've really got backbone, worthy of being my son. Dad, now that the family is split, we're actually more at ease. In the days ahead, I plan to borrow Uncle Zhao's repeating hunting rifle first, then head into the deep mountains and pull off a few big hunts, aiming to bring back a black bear or a tiger. And selling it on the black market would be enough for us to build a new house." Zhou Weidong said. "What? You still want to hunt a tiger?" Liao Xiuqin panicked at once. "Your body has only just fully recovered. Don't go putting yourself in danger again." "Don't worry, Mom. With Zhuzi and the others helping out, even if I can't get any prey, I can still run." right? Zhou Weidong said with a smile. Zhou Dehai looked at his son's face full of confidence and could only nod. All right, but be careful in everything. Don't end up like last time and break your waist again. Got it, Dad. Zhou Weidong reached out to support his arm. I just want to get the new house built as soon as possible, so you and Mom don't have to keep living in this drafty, leaky house. Hearing this, Liao Xiuqin felt both sweetness and bitterness in her heart. Then work hard, Dongzi. Whatever you want to do, we'll support you. All right, let us make it so our family can eat meat at every meal and live a flourishing life. Zhou Weidong said with a smile, and the family began to eat heartily. The fragrant pork made all the neighbors drool with envy. The night passed quietly. At daybreak the next morning, Zhou Weidong told Zhao Taizhu about his plan to hunt a northeast tiger, and the two hit it off immediately. Filled a flask with strong liquor and headed straight to Huang Liang's house. Huang Liang hadn't had any meat for a month, so when he saw Zhou Weidong bringing wine and meat for a visit, he beamed with joy, and when he got tipsy from drinking, he casually agreed to lend them the gun. After all, in a famine year, meat was more precious than a hunting rifle, and even if he had a gun in hand, he still couldn't hunt any meat. Carrying the 5-shot hunting rifle, Zhou Weidong headed up the mountain. The heavy snow covered the road, making each step forward unusually difficult. The hot breath he exhaled sprayed onto Zhao Taizhu's face, and the two of them were so cold their faces turned red. There were chicken claw prints in the snow, and Zhao Taizhu was greatly surprised. Wild pheasants fly up into trees to roost and are territorial, rarely gathering in flocks, and this string of chaotic claw prints showed that their numbers exceeded expectations. The two exchanged a glance and continued toward the woods. In winter, the leaves had all fallen, leaving the branches bare. Suddenly, a crow of a chicken came from overhead. A pheasant, snow shaken loose from the branch, happened to fall right onto Zhou Weidong. He looked up and saw a dull gray wild pheasant. Look! Zhao Taizhu followed the direction of his finger and looked. The pheasant was standing on a branch, with nothing around it to provide any cover. It had a few blades of grass in its beak and was probably trying to build a simple nest. Chickens lay eggs, eggs hatch chickens, and if this keeps going, they'll be able to eat eggs every day. At the thought of this, Zhou Weidong rubbed his hands excitedly. Pheasants are highly resistant to cold, can drink water with bits of ice in it, and walk freely in snowy weather. They're easy to raise, just feed them some corn, and that will do. The pheasant was up high, and climbing a tree was no easy task. Besides, the pheasant wouldn't just stand there foolishly without moving. Even if he climbed up, he might not be able to catch it. Zhou Weidong rummaged through the basket on his back and pulled out a handful of rice seeds, scattering them on the ground. Fortunately, he had come well prepared. Winter was the hardest time for pheasants to find food, so he refused to believe the pheasant wouldn't take the bait. Before long, the pheasant flew down from the branch, warily looking around to make sure there was no danger before lowering its head to eat the seeds. While it was busy eating, Zhou Weidong covered the pheasant with a bamboo basket from behind. Catch 2 more pheasants and take them back to keep penned up. Zhou Weidong was overjoyed, pressing down hard on the bamboo basket with one arm. Zhao Taizhu nodded happily. After lying in wait for half an hour, Zhou Weidong used the same old method to catch a few more pheasants that had come out to forage. As far as the eye could see was a vast expanse of white snow with no end in sight. Zhou Weidong and Zhao Taizhu wove through the forest, their feet moving swiftly, with nothing around them but the sound of heavy breathing. Zhou Weidong came to a sudden stop. A tiger's roar rang out beside his ear. Across the snowfield, its bellow echoed like rolling thunder. It was a Siberian tiger, that overbearing low growl. Other than a Siberian tiger, Zhou Weidong couldn't think of any other animal. There really was a Siberian tiger in this snowy land. With a crack, Zhou Weidong mistakenly thought the Siberian tiger had spotted him, his heart nearly leaping out of his chest, but it turned out to be only the sound of a branch snapping. Still, being cautious could never go wrong. If the Siberian tiger launched a sneak attack, he would become the tiger's next meal. Siberian tigers have a very keen sense of smell, so let's be careful. As the backbone of the team, Zhou Weidong rarely showed such a serious expression. Wild Siberian tigers are born hunters. An adult Siberian tiger can tear a cow to pieces alive. Zhou Weidong didn't dare let down his guard in the slightest. If the Siberian tiger gained the upper hand first, then all they could do would be run for their lives. Even with a 5-shot hunting rifle in his hands, Zhou Weidong couldn't guarantee he would hit a vital spot. If he couldn't kill it in one shot, the moment the Siberian tiger counterattacked would be the moment of his death. Siberian tigers are huge, but they can run at tremendous speed. Aiming at a moving Siberian tiger was extremely challenging, so Zhou Weidong planned to circle behind it and, catching it off guard, fire burst. Just as he was about to determine the Siberian tiger's location, a rustling sound came from beside his ear. At some point, the Siberian tiger in the distance had actually closed in right in front of them. Run onto the ice now. Zhou Weidong only turned his head to glance at it. With its hanging eyes and broad white forehead, short, thick neck, and razor-sharp claws, he could already imagine being pierced by those tiger claws. Its black whiskers were long and stiff. Its eyes gleamed with ferocity, and its whole body radiated killing intent. Zhou Weidong charged forward as if his life depended on it, the sound of wind whistling past his ears as he sprinted all the way. The snowy surface was too slippery, and with a thud, he fell to the ground, his body sliding uncontrollably for quite a distance. He didn't bother brushing the snow off himself and got to his feet at once to keep running forward. Zhao Taizhu gave him a pull, and with a whoosh, Zhou Weidong turned around. A black shadow darted past, flashing with a sharp, cold gleam. It had caught up. Damn it, I want to see whether your head is harder or my bullets are harder. Zhou Weidong cursed and raised the 5-shot hunting rifle, aiming at the Siberian tiger's forehead. Bang, bang, bang. 2 volleys of bullets pierced the Siberian tiger's fur, and a strong smell of blood filled the air. The Siberian tiger stumbled and fell onto the ice. Roar. It was still just a little off. The bullets hadn't hit the Siberian tiger between the brows, but had struck its chest instead, and threads of blood seeped out through its fur. It roared, opened its gaping bloody mouth, bearing a mouthful of fangs, and venting its surging fury without restraint. Its movements were fast and vicious as its giant paw slammed toward Zhou Weidong's face. Bang! Zhou Weidong took the chance to fire another volley, and the Siberian tiger dropped to the ground. Just as Zhou Weidong was rejoicing at having survived the disaster, a massive creature quietly appeared on the ice. He hadn't expected this Siberian tiger to have a companion, one even larger than the one just now. With powerful limbs and sleek, glossy fur, the Siberian tiger silently closed in, its huge paw striking out. Just as he was about to die, at the critical moment Zhou Weidong cleverly dodged aside with the body enhanced by the spirit spring, then took aim and fired. Bang! This shot was clean and decisive, hitting the male tiger squarely in the forehead. A burst of blood exploded and splattered onto Zhou Weidong's face. The scorching hot blood made his face, numb from the cold, regain some feeling. Looking at the 2 Siberian tigers lying side by side, Zhou Weidong sucked in a breath of cold air. That was close. Zhao Taizhu sniffed, raised his sleeve to wipe the sweat from his forehead, unable to hide the excitement on his frost-reddened face. 2 tigers, we really were pushed to the brink by them. Yeah, Zhou Weidong nodded, recalling that lightning-fast moment between life and death just now. His back still drenched in cold sweat. Good thing my marksmanship held up, or I'd have lost my life here. Bro, how are we supposed to carry a Siberian tiger weighing 300 or 400 jin back to the village? Zhao Taizhu really couldn't think of how to take the Siberian tiger back. It won't fit in the back basket. Zhou Weidong thought for a moment and said, skin the tiger. As for the tiger meat and tiger bones, we can bury them in a snowdrift for now. It won't be too late to come get them tomorrow. Okay. Over the next half hour, the 2 brothers began skinning and dividing it up. His knife skills were practiced, and the tiger's skin wasn't stained red with blood. After dealing with the hide, next came the meat. Siberian tigers are carnivores, and when they cut open the belly, a foul stench hit them in the face, almost making Zhou Weidong's eyes water. He used a small knife to trim the meat from the bones. The most valuable thing wasn't the tiger meat, but the tiger bones, which could be used as precious medicinal material. Next were the tiger teeth, tiger penis, and tiger whiskers, all of which could also be used in medicine. After another 1 or 2 hours of work, the 2 brothers finally finished processing the tiger. To avoid being ambushed by large animals, they only brought 100 jin of tiger meat down the mountain and buried the rest in the snow, though in fact he stored it in the space. Only when they reached the foot of the mountain did they finally dare to breathe a sigh of relief. Zhuzi, I'll go return the hunting rifle first. You carry this meat back first. It's all yours. Sure. After chatting with Zhao Taizhu for a bit, he took part of the tiger meat and the hunting rifle back to Huang Liang's house. Zhou Weidong entered the yard and shouted, Brother Liang, having lunch? Oh my, what wind blew you here? Huang Liang hurriedly broke the dry bun in his hand in half and handed it to Zhou Weidong. The room was dark and damp, so shabby that it had only a small table. Huang Liang was a bachelor and not particular about what he wore, sitting cross-legged on the edge of the Kong. Weren't you supposed to go into the mountains with that kid Zhao Taizhu? Where did he run off to? He wasn't eaten by a Siberian tiger, was he? Huang Liang shuddered, craning his neck forward as he anxiously waited for Zhou Weidong's reply. Zhou Weidong couldn't help laughing out loud. He sat down opposite Huang Liang. Even Wu Song could kill a tiger with his bare hands. I've got a 5-shot hunting rifle. When a Siberian tiger sees me, it trembles. How would it still dare think about eating people? Taiju is fine. He went home first. Look what I brought you. Siberian tiger meat. Huang Liang slapped the table excitedly, staring fixedly at the meat in the basket. Kid, you've really got skills. I thought you were just bragging. You can even hunt a Siberian tiger? Huang Liang had been hunting game for half his life, yet he still didn't have Zhou Weidong's courage. Zhou Weidong reacted calmly. It was a pair of Siberian tigers, one male and one female. Just enough for you to try something fresh. Huang Liang swallowed hard with greed and gave a thumbs up. Brother, I'm impressed. I don't admire anyone, just you. Since you've brought tiger meat right to my door, I won't stand on ceremony with you. Once I get a taste of this tiger meat, my foot injury will surely heal right away. Though his legs and feet weren't in good shape, he had still heard some talk. Yesterday, Zhou Weidong had been shouting about splitting the family and had invited Captain Zhao to preside fairly. Right then, Huang Liang felt Zhou Weidong was bound to become someone important. As a man, at the very least you have to live with backbone, not be spineless. The fact that he rushed over to bring him tiger meat after making the kill only showed even more that Zhou Weidong was generous and straightforward, someone worth befriending. Brother Liang, take your time eating. I'll head back first. This tiger meat is to thank you for lending me the gun. In these famine years, grain is as precious as gold, so naturally Zhou Weidong didn't want to eat someone else's food. If he ate someone else's food, that meant they would have one less bite to eat, and if word got out, people in the village would inevitably gossip. Hey, Weidong, don't be in such a hurry to leave. I'll introduce you to a brother. Huang Liang rushed out in one go, chasing after him barefoot and grabbing the corner of Zhou Weidong's clothes to keep him from leaving. The two sat on the edge of the Kong chatting. After talking in detail, he learned that the brother Huang Liang wanted to introduce was Fuyang Dongsheng, a cashier at a state-run restaurant. Every time Zhou Weidong went into the mountains, he came back with a full haul. Selling this meat to a state-run restaurant was exactly a good way out. With that much meat anyway, it would be a waste just leaving it there. After hearing the introduction, Zhou Weidong was also prepared to get to know the man, so after sending a message on a BB pager, he ate lunch there and waited for the other party. An hour later, Yang Dongsheng came hurrying over on a bicycle, covered in dust from the journey. Yang Dongsheng was dressed quite meticulously, and his crisp Zhongshan suit made him look full of vigor, probably around 30 or 40 years old. Old Huang, you wouldn't fool me, would you? This young fellow could hunt Siberian tiger meat. Yang Dongsheng carefully sized up Zhou Weidong. He didn't look like a tough character with that build. Huang Liang patted his chest and swore confidently. With our relationship, would I need to fool you? His hunting skills are no worse than mine at all. Don't let his age fool you, he's never once come back empty-handed from the mountains. This is the Siberian tiger meat he brought me. Yang Dongsheng pulled the tiger meat apart for a look and sniffed it. The color was different from wild boar and pork, and he was immediately delighted. Young man, you've got guts. You dared charge at a Siberian tiger with just a gun? Zhou Weidong said modestly. I just got ridiculously lucky and happened to bag it. Huang Liang burst out laughing. If hunting a Siberian tiger counts as getting ridiculously lucky, then how are the people who only catch wild rabbits supposed to live? Weidong, just admit that you're skilled. We're all friends here. There's no need for polite talk. You all chat for a while. I'll go pour you some water. During that time, Huang Liang and Yang Dongsheng chatted about everything under the sun, with Zhou Weidong occasionally chiming in. The atmosphere gradually grew harmonious. Learning about Yang Dongsheng's background, Zhou Weidong couldn't help but sigh inwardly. At present, the highest position in a state-owned restaurant is manager, followed by cashier. These days, jobs in state-owned work units are iron rice bowls. Little brother, if you're willing, let's make a verbal agreement, starting today. Deliver 200 jin of meat to the restaurant every week, and we won't treat you unfairly on the price. But the guests who come to our restaurant are picky eaters. Ordinary wild rabbit meat won't catch their eye. Northeast tiger meat, roe deer meat, and snake meat are all fine. From now on, whenever you have meat on hand, come find me at the restaurant's address. A sharp gleam flashed in Zhou Weidong's eyes. If he could build a connection with Yang Dongsheng, would his family still ever lack grain coupons in the future? A steady stream of extra income. All right, brother Yang, I've got it down. Zhou Weidong picked up the large porcelain mug and toasted Yang Dongsheng with water in place of wine. Yang Dongsheng grinned from ear to ear. I like straightforward people. Huang Liang patted him on the shoulder and said proudly, the men in our village are no slouches. And this kid from the Zhou family is the most promising of them all. Otherwise, would I have introduced him to you? That's right. Bring the meat over tomorrow, and the price will definitely be fair. All right. For the next half hour, with Huang Liang hosting, the three of them drank and toasted one another, chatting with great enjoyment. In order to build a good relationship with the two of them, Zhou Weidong even deliberately gave each of them a piece of tiger paw, calling it a taste test, though in reality it was all about social etiquette. Both of them accepted, naturally delighted in their hearts. Once the business was settled, the sky had grown dark, and only then did the drinking session break up. On this trip back, Yang Dongsheng even took several dozen jin of tiger meat with him, planning to put on a banquet first thing in the morning to attract customers and see how they responded. After returning home, Zhou Weidong told his family about hunting the tiger, and then took out 2 tiger pelts, leaving the whole family stunned. Although his mother was very worried about his safety, when she saw the tiger pelts, she was still overwhelmed with joy. Zhou Weidong didn't hesitate either, directly leaving 1 tiger pelt for his mother to make a blanket. Only after repeatedly declining did she finally agree to keep it. Afterward, they ate the braised tiger meat and talked until late into the night before going to sleep. Early the next morning, Zhou Weidong carried a wicker basket on his back and headed for the state-owned restaurant. The entrance was quiet and deserted. In the 70s, only a very small number of people could afford to eat out, so this was nothing strange. Yang Dongsheng was busy checking the goods. Only when Zhou Weidong walked up to him did he notice him, and he was immediately both surprised and delighted. Little Zhou, coming early is not as good as coming at the right time. The Northeast tiger meat you delivered is very fresh, without the slightest gamey smell. I told one of my regular customers, and he specifically asked for Northeast tiger meat. Brother Yang, I brought a whole basket of meat. Is it enough? If you say the word, I'll bring over all the meat from my home. Zhou Weidong set down the basket and moved closer to Yang Dongsheng. The basket was packed full of meat, impossible to look away from. The wild boar meat buried underneath is my gift to you, just for a taste, so don't refuse it. Just take it as a small token of my appreciation. If you like it, I'll bring you more. Yang Dongsheng lifted it up and looked, and sure enough, wild boar meat was hidden underneath. He beamed with joy. Little brother, you've really made me feel embarrassed. The person old Huang had his eye on really is no slouch. After you left yesterday, old Huang was still praising you to me. These days, everyone is blinded by profit and desire, always wanting to take advantage of others while being unwilling to pay any price themselves. A famine can actually reveal a person's character. The more someone is always trying to profit from petty favors, the more easily they end up walking themselves into a dead end. Yang Dongsheng had dealt with many hunters. Only Zhou Weidong best matched his liking. The reason he has an iron rice bowl is his sincere heart, and Zhou Weidong reminds him of himself. He knows when to bend and when to stand firm. Many thanks to Brother Liang and Brother Yang for thinking so highly of me. I'm just a rough fellow. I wouldn't dare show off in front of Brother Yang. If we're talking about someone truly capable and promising, that would definitely be you, Brother Yang. The threshold for a state-run restaurant is no ordinary high. Brother Yang is holding an iron rice bowl. Zhou Weidong knew very well that Yang Dongsheng had heard plenty of flattering words. But who would dislike someone flattering them? He waited on Yang Dongsheng like he was an ancestor, so of course Yang Dongsheng would give him benefits. Yang Dongsheng grinned, beaming. Did you eat honey or something? You're really good at sweet-talking people. That said, I can't keep letting you take the loss. Another day I'll bring you the grain coupons, and I'll buy this wild boar meat. Zhou Weidong quickly declined. Brother Yang, you're my benefactor. How could I let you pay? I never intended to sell you the wild boar meat in the first place. I absolutely can't accept your grain coupons. Yang Dongsheng looked serious. Enough. I've decided. I'll bring you the grain coupons another day. If you still won't budge, then I won't take it. All right, Brother Yang. I've never met anyone as good as you. Zhou Weidong looked deeply moved and voluntarily helped Yang Dongsheng count the goods. Yang Dongsheng weighed the meat. Money and goods changed hands at once, and he said, Weidong, the prices at the state-run restaurant are the fairest. Just bring meat over without worry. The restaurant's non-staple food purchasing was entirely handled by Yang Dongsheng. He had absolute say, and the state-run restaurant's purchase prices were set out in the open. Without paying out of pocket, he could still let Zhou Weidong make money, and Yang Dongsheng was quite willing to do that. After chatting for a while about everyday matters, he settled over 1,000 yuan for Zhou Weidong, and only then left the state-run restaurant. Now that the family had money, Zhou Weidong planned to go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy a sewing machine and a radio. His mother toiled every day and had always done needlework to help support the family. Buying a sewing machine would make things much easier for her. After passing through the alley entrance, he saw that the front of the supply and marketing cooperative was packed tight. Comrade, how much is a butterfly brand sewing machine? After squeezing through the crowd for quite a while, he finally saw the sales clerk's face. Without even looking up, the clerk kept knitting and said, "Do you have a sewing machine coupon?" Scarce goods had to be bought with coupons, that was the rule. Zhou Weidong frowned. The work points he earned through backbreaking labor had all been taken by the second and third branches of the family, let alone the coupons distributed by the village. He didn't have one. However, Zhou Weidong's eyes shifted, and after thinking for a moment, he said, "Uncle, do you remember me? My third and second uncle is related to your family." "Related?" The sales clerk was puzzled for a moment, then suddenly remembered. "I remember you. You're the son of old he, who used to live across the street. Haven't seen you in years, you've grown so tall. Where did your family move to?" "Old he? Who's old he?" "Never mind. It was all made up anyway as long as he could buy the sewing machine." "Uncle, you haven't lost your bearing at all. Our family has moved to the county now." The sales clerk narrowed his eyes and said, "So you moved to the county? No wonder. You want to buy a sewing machine and a radio. I'll help you get them." After pondering for a moment, the clerk tugged Zhou Weidong toward the back door of the supply and marketing cooperative. In a corner of the storeroom sat a Butterfly brand sewing machine covered with craft paper. When it was manufactured, the two characters for Butterfly were printed wrong, so it can't be sold at the normal price. He folded his arms and said, "You don't need a sewing machine coupon, but you do need 1 grain coupon and 50 yuan. Zhou Weidong pursed his lips, his eyes darting around once. "All right, then what about the radio?" "The radio is 30. Deal." Very soon, Zhou Weidong bought those 2 items at an extremely low price. Then he went to the supply and marketing cooperative in the south and used ration coupons to exchange for a 28-inch bicycle and a wristwatch. After buying everything, he rode the bicycle back home. After he got home, his mother had already prepared the meal. The fragrant braised tiger meat made people's mouths water. Looking at the various household appliances and eating the piping hot food, the whole family felt very content. After finishing the meal, they were just about to rest when the brigade leader hurried over. "Weidong, quick, grab your things and come with your uncle. The village has been attacked by wild boars and a pack of wolves." "What? A wolf attack?" The wild wolves from the mountain, whether lost or for some other reason, had barged into the villagers' homes and bitten chickens and ducks to death. The air was filled with a strong smell of blood, and there were fallen feathers and bloodstains along the roadside. The men, women, old, and young in the village were so frightened that they shut their doors and stayed inside. The wolves rampaged wildly and darted into the cornfield. It was pitch dark now, and no one dared rashly enter the cornfield, but if they left the beast alone, the crops would definitely be destroyed, and the village's harvest for the entire year would be ruined. "Okay." Without a word, Zhou Weidong threw on his padded jacket and followed the hunting team out. As soon as he reached the village, he heard wailing. "Oh my heavens, how could something like this happen? So many of our poultry are gone, how are we supposed to live now?" "That's right. Heavens above, this old woman can't go on living." Sob, sob. The villagers only dared to watch from afar, crying and wiping away tears. Every household could barely fill their stomachs, and after finally raising a few chickens and ducks, now they were all going to end up as snacks for the wild wolves. The villagers were filled with hatred, but there was nothing they could do about the wolves. The fields had also been trampled and burrowed through by the pack, ruining some of the grain. Zhou Weidong craned his neck and looked around. This cornfield seemed to belong to Song Jinhua's family. This was really too abnormal. Wolves eat meat, so why would they destroy crops for no reason? Presumably, while fleeing, they had been frightened by the villagers and were using this method to retaliate against them. Wild wolves are the ancestors of dogs, and their intelligence is much higher than that of ordinary beasts. Zhou Weidong stepped forward to confirm, and the one crying with snot and tears all over her face was indeed his dear second aunt. Song Jinhua was like Zhou Poppy reincarnated ordinarily. She wouldn't part with even a grain of rice for outsiders. Now that her fields had been trampled, and the chickens and ducks at home had been eaten by the wolves, she cried heartbrokenly. She shouted that she wanted to light the stove, heat up some oil, and stew the wolves into soup. "Second brother's wife, listen to my advice. If the corn is gone, you can just plant it again next year. Why get so worked up over a beast? Don't make yourself sick from anger. As the old saying goes, if the old doesn't go, the new won't come. The village brigade has come to help. And if you run around recklessly, you'll only cause trouble for Captain Zhao." Zhou Weidong had originally thought of shooting the beast dead with one shot to stop it from running wild, but seeing his second aunt being put in her place, he was overjoyed. So he simply stood to the side in silence and watched the show. When Song Jinhua saw Zhou Weidong arrive, she put on a false act and wanted to rush up and fight the wolves to the death, but a circle of villagers held her back. If it had been the former Zhou Weidong, He might have fought the wolves desperately for his second aunt's sake regardless of the consequences. But if he really did that, would he end up with anything good? Song Jinhua, that ungrateful wretch, probably wouldn't remember even the slightest bit of his kindness. His father had worked diligently and devoted himself to the big family, only to end up with nothing in return. Zhou Weidong was determined not to follow in his father's footsteps. He watched Song Jinhua coldly as she jumped about, without the slightest ripple in his heart. Awoo, awoo. The wolf howls tore through the silent long night, and Song Jinhua shuddered in fright. The shrill shouting came to an abrupt stop, and the able-bodied men from the village brigade hesitated, not daring to step forward. Wolves have better night vision than humans, and if they fired recklessly and hit one of their own, the loss would outweigh the gain. There was an animal trap placed on the haystack, stained with blood and wolf fur. Clearly, before this, someone had harbored ulterior motives and wanted to catch a wild wolf to fill their belly. Zhou Weidong glanced sidelong at his third uncle Zhou Qiang, who was hiding in the shadows. The one who plays with hawks gets pecked in the eye by one. Instead, they brought it on themselves. From the moment the brigade received word that wild wolves had come down the mountain until now, when the wolves had fled into the cornfield to wreak havoc, the timing didn't add up. Zhou Weidong guessed that the second and third branches of the family had originally planned to trap the wild wolves and secretly keep the wolf meat for themselves, only to end up shooting themselves in the foot. Not only did they fail to catch the pack, even the chickens they raised were eaten. Considering the safety of the villagers, Zhou Weidong said in a low voice, "Captain Zhao, wild wolves are pack animals. If their howling draws in more wolves, it won't just be a matter of losing chickens, ducks, and grain anymore. It's pitch black out. Send the villagers home quickly. If the wolf pack comes down the mountain, every household in the village will suffer. Rather than taking a desperate risk, it's better to avoid the wolf's edge." Zhao Zhenxing let out a long sigh. If lives were really lost, and responsibility was investigated, he as captain would never escape blame. Left with no choice, he could only have the team members escort the villagers back. Before long, Zhou Weidong's words came true. Awoo, awoo. Several dark figures darted into the cornfield, with several more wolves appearing all at once. Catching them became even harder. If they fired rashly and a whole burst missed, then the wolf pack launched a counterattack. They would be the unlucky ones. Captain Zhao couldn't help but scold them. "You eat more than anyone else, but when it matters, you fall apart, a bunch of useless fools. As members of the mountain patrol team, your duty is to protect the villagers and take the lead in charging into danger when a crisis comes. At a time like this, who would joke around with their life?" The mountain patrol team didn't dare even breathe too loudly, afraid of bringing trouble on themselves. Getting scolded a few times was nothing, but if they were really made to confront the wild wolves head-on, they were done for. Wolves hunt in coordinated groups. Kill one, and another will come, with wave after wave of wolves pouncing forward. Even if it doesn't cost you a layer of skin, you'll still shed some blood. Seeing this, Zhou Weidong had a sudden idea. "Captain Zhao, if hardline tactics won't work, then use bait. Isn't there a sheep tied up in Old Man Wu's yard? Let the sheep out, and I'll fire a blank to lure the wolf pack into the trap." A trace of hesitation flashed across Zhao Zhenxing's face. He paused for a moment. "If the sheep gets eaten by the wolves, and we still can't catch them, how are we supposed to explain it to Old Man Wu? His family is in a difficult situation and depends on this sheep to get by. He might be able to do some persuasion work with Old Man Wu, but if the man lost his sheep and they still failed to catch the wolves, what would he have to face Old Man Wu with?" Zhou Weidong revealed a confident smile. "Leave it to me. My aim is very accurate. I guarantee not a single hair on Old Man Wu's sheep will be lost." Zhou Weidong spoke with complete confidence, and at the moment there was no better solution. Half believing and half doubtful, Zhao Zhenxing agreed, and went to Old Man Wu's house to lead out that old goat. Bang! Zhou Weidong fired a shot into the air. The cornfield rustled twice, and the old goat, startled, bleated in fright. In the darkness, a pair of green glinting eyes appeared, and the wolf pack filed out one after another, lunging at the old goat. Just as the wolf king opened its fangs, bang bang bang, Zhou Weidong pulled the trigger, aiming at the wolf king's forehead. The alpha wolf fell into a pool of blood, and the remaining wolves were nothing to fear. Having lost their leader, the pack scattered in all directions, and Zhou Weidong raised his gun and fired another burst. Bang! The wild wolf trailing at the end of the pack dropped on the spot. Zhou Weidong kept up the pursuit relentlessly, finishing off two more wolves with 2 consecutive bursts. He was certain the surviving wolves wouldn't dare enter the village again anytime soon, so he gave up the idea of chasing them further. Zhao Zhenxing let out a sigh of relief, and the villagers guarding the windows, seeing Zhou Weidong kill 4 wolves, jumped out to praise him. Damn wolves, skin them. That kid from the Zhou family is really promising. A man who can hunt tigers, would he be afraid of just a few wolves? Zhou Weidong was surrounded in the center like the moon among stars. When word spread that he was the one who had killed the wolf pack, Song Jinhua was furious. Just now, when those beasts were ruining her family's corn, Zhou Weidong had acted like nothing was happening. The moment she left, Zhou Weidong stole the spotlight. Since it was Zhou Weidong's achievement, the wild wolves would probably belong to him as well. Song Jinhua secretly started scheming and mocked. You little bastard, since when is it your turn to show off? How could these beasts barge into my house for no reason? You must have injured the wolf pack by mistake while hunting in the mountains, and now they've come to get revenge on you. You must compensate us for our family's corn and chickens and ducks. Song Jinhua was determined to get a share of the benefits from Zhou Weidong no matter what. The chickens and ducks had all ended up in the wolves' bellies, and the village would never compensate her for them. So she could only pin it on Zhou Weidong. This easy mark. Zhou Dazhuang chimed in from the side. My mom's right. You must have stirred up a wolf den, and the pack came to the village for revenge. And you still have the nerve to hog the wolf meat. The decrepit Wang Xiuying also jumped out to stir up trouble. Your second aunt is thinking of us as one family and isn't holding it against you, so you can't play dumb. No matter how you look at it, your second and third uncles should both get a share of the wolf meat. Heh. Zhou Weidong let out a scornful laugh. He sneered. You're already half in the grave. How can you still not tell right from wrong? Why the wolf pack barged into second aunt's house? Go ask second aunt. Or if that doesn't work, go ask the wild wolves. If they could speak human language, they'd definitely cry injustice for me. Anyone with eyes could see that Wang Xiuying and Song Jinhua were singing the same tune, convinced that Zhou Weidong would just swallow the grievance. Unfortunately, Zhou Weidong didn't indulge them and didn't do as they wished. How much meat has Zhou Weidong hunted in the mountains over the past half-month? Who knows whether he's ever stirred up a wolf den? I say he's exactly why the wolf pack held a grudge, and that's why the wild wolves chased him all the way to the village. Zhou Dazhuang spoke as if it all made perfect sense. Even taking a step back, our family suffered a loss, and you're my own elder brother. So what's wrong with giving our family some wolf meat? Shouldn't you? Share my ass with your mother, why don't you give me half of your family stuff? Zhou Weidong cursed.